Mental Health, the Up&Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness. So, Geraldine, we were talking just a minute ago about the 5 languages of apology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just from what you said, this is based off of the 5 love languages?
I don't know that it's based off of, but I think since most people are aware of those 5 love languages, it kind of follows the same pattern.
Okay.
Whether the person who kind of presented this was trying to do that or not, I don't know. But yeah.
Okay, got it.
And with the 5 love languages, which again, most people are familiar with, we might talk about another time, but the way they're presented is more like there's 5 ways to show and receive love, and you fit into one of those 5 categories, which I don't think is technically true. I think we kind of run through them in different.
I've learned that you have receptive and expressive love languages, and those they're not always the same.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the circle you run in, it does get a little more complicated, but anyway.
Yeah. I've found that sometimes I need a different type of love language depending on the situation or the person. Like, I might need acts of service from the plumber across the street. And, touch from my massage therapist. I'm giving obvious examples, but, depending on the relationship and what I'm going through, I tend to cycle through possibly all of those love languages.
And sometimes the love language you think you have is actually a different love language that you're expressing. And my example of that is I've always thought that gift giving and gift receiving was my primary love language because I love getting little love gifts. Like my mom and dad went on a walk on the beach, and they came back and gave me a handful full of shiny rocks that they found that made them think of me, and I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
But the older I get and the more I start really analyzing myself, the more I think that gift receiving is actually acts of service in a way.
Yeah.
Because my primary expressive is acts of service. Since I was little, I have always cooked for the family, cooked for the people I love as a way of taking care of them, of showing them love. I made dinner 9 times out of 10 when I was in middle school. Because I like to cook and because it was a way to show love to the people that I loved.
Yeah, act of service.
And so gift receiving or gift giving is kind of an act of service because I went out of my way. I saw this thing that made me think of you. I got it. I brought it back. Like, I don't know. So I think there's a lot of crossover.
I think that's exactly what I was trying to express is, there's a lot of crossover, but that's really interesting that kind of you think it's one thing and it actually fills another need. And I can see that I can go around and say that about all the love languages. They could get kind of confusing in all of those ways.
Yeah.
So just because we did touch on it real quickly, the love language are quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts.
Yeah.
So, whether it was built off of that originally or not, it's a good comparison to the 5 love languages of apology.
Okay.
And with the 5 languages of apology.
What are the names of those 5 for just real quick?
So, sincere feeling, acknowledgement, explanation, plan to change, and I wrote down recompense, but that's not it. Amends. Yeah.
So sincere feeling, acknowledgement.
Explanation.
What was the third? Explanation.
Plan to change. And amends.
Plan to change and amends. Okay. I wanted to write them down so I remember.
So the sincere feeling is the difference between, Anna, I hit your car and dented it, or Anna, I hit your car and dented it, or
Okay.
Anna, I forgot your birthday, versus "Oh, Anna, ugh, I forgot your birthday. So
Okay.
that actually includes both the sincere feeling and the acknowledgement.
Mhm.
Sincere feeling without acknowledgement is, oh my God, I hurt you, or oh, I'm so sorry you feel bad, without
Mhm.
saying, I kind of hit your car, or I kind of forgot your birthday. So,
Okay.
with the languages of
Oh.
apology, the way I think about it is most apologies can cover all five pretty quickly because it
Mm.
doesn't take
Okay.
longer to say, "Oh, I forgot your birthday," versus, I forgot your birthday."
Okay.
You look like you're
I'm
contemplating.
I'm processing, so keep going.
Yeah. So,
I was actually sorry. I told you
mhm.
to keep going, and I'm gonna interrupt.
And then you jumped
Um,
in.
I was thinking that this aligns with a lot of conversations I've had with my husband and my sister-in-law and with a lot of my family right now about the difference between just saying, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry you feel bad,"
Mhm.
versus a true apology. We end up having
Mhm.
this conversation a lot, which a true apology in our circle
Mhm.
means you repent, you ask for forgiveness, you acknowledge that you did something that caused harm,
Mhm.
intentionally or otherwise, and
Mhm.
then reconciliation, which means that you correct the behavior and you both
Mhm.
work toward a healthy relationship
Yeah.
and rebuild trust.
Yeah.
So that would be not just sincere feeling and acknowledgement, which is two,
Uh-huh.
and then sometimes explanation. Sometimes explanation is not necessary,
Uh-huh.
but then plan to change and amends. So the plan to change and amends is about rebuilding that trust.
Yeah. So you hit 5 of them right
Yeah.
off the bat. I'll say, the other thing that is not a sincere feeling is when people say, "All right, I'm sorry." You know, that's has a lot of emotion to it, but it's
Yeah.
not
And
it yeah. Go ahead.
I have done that more often than I ought to because my knee jerk reaction when confronted with a fault from
Uh-huh.
externally held accountable is
You
defensiveness.
you don't
And
love
even when I'm
that when
trying,
people confront you? Sorry, I am talking over you.
no, I know, no.
I love it when people
Um,
tell me everything I do wrong.
and at this point, my point of growth is while I'm being defensive, I'm like, I'm being defensive, and I know I am, and I'm really trying not to, but I am sorry. It sounds so sincere, right? And I do mean it. It's just like I'm acknowledging that that's where I'm coming from, and I'm really
Right.
working my way through. But damn
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Any feeling is not necessarily, or expressing feeling isn't the same as expressing remorseful feeling or caring
Right,
feeling. Yeah.
right,
Although
yeah.
from your example, I do see that the other person would know you well enough to know that that means, "I'm sincerely
That is
sorry. I just
that
can't get
is
my
the
mouth to say
hope,
it the right way."
right? I just okay, total squirrel. I just
Yep.
saw this meme about it's a mom, it's about parenthood, and it says when you're overstimulated or but you're trying to respond with gentle parenting or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And you hear someone say, "Hey mom," and she goes, "What? Sorry.
Uh-huh.
What? Sorry." And she like does it like 3 or 4 times before she changes her tone. She's like,
Uh-huh.
"Wait.
Yeah.
Wait."
Right? I wanna help you,
Yeah,
but my own feelings are kinda getting in the way, or my own stress. Yeah. And
exactly.
I think you bring up a good point is that anything we talk about here on the podcast or anything anybody talks about with anyone anywhere, I mean, we're human beings. We're not going to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it every time. And every once
Yeah.
in a while, our brain will know what to do. But again, what comes out of our mouth doesn't match what we hope comes out of our mouth.
So
Yeah,
remembering to take each other with a grain of salt and have grace
a
for yourselves. Yes.
100%. Um, so you also, actually, I wanted to point out to you that,
Hmm.
oh, shoot, I wrote it down and now I can't read it. Oh, a minute ago when you said, "Ha ha ha, I told you to keep going," and then I started talking again. You
Right.
actually met several that was sincere. I mean, it had feeling
Hmm.
behind it, like a little bit of, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." Definite acknowledgement, "I did do this." Um,
Yep.
Not overt explanation or plan to change, but understood that, "Oh, I don't wanna do that again." And,
Right.
amends, "Give me send me $5 in the mail." No, I'm teasing.
Amends is shutting up so you can finally talk again.
Next time, yeah, yeah.
Right.
But you also brought up, something where you said, if you hurt someone intentional or not,
Hmm.
and I do think, um, that while that may change how you feel about the person, it doesn't change the fact that they are hurt. And I
Right.
use the example as if I break your leg pulling you out of a burning building, or I break your leg accidentally tripping over you, or I break
Hmm.
your leg by hitting it with a hammer. Your
Hmm.
leg is still broken, you know?
Right.
Um, so that kind of middle one, I trip over you. Hopefully, I would never hit anyone in the leg with a hammer, but hopefully nobody would.
Yeah.
But kind of regardless of whether that was intentional or even warranted, like breaking your leg, pulling you out of a burning building, I can
Hmm.
say I definitely would have done it again. But oh my God, I'm so sorry I hurt your leg doing that wonderful thing. I'm so sorry. And I just want you to know that I wouldn't hurt you on purpose. And, like that explanation part. And, let me help you hobble over to the hospital,
Hmm.
kind of that uh, amends part. Even though I didn't mean it, that doesn't mean you ignore the apology part.
Well, and it gets really difficult when you're dealing with situations where you believe that you did the best of your ability
Uh huh.
to be a healthy, responsible human,
Mm-hmm.
and it still made someone else feel bad. It hurt
Mm.
them, it caused them difficulty, whatever that range is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it really hard. It's really hard to feel sorry because it's like, no, I did what I believed was right.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I am sorry that you are in pain. I'm sorry that you're mad. I'm sorry that this caused you discomfort or pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I grew up during my high school years was when there was a big fad about saying "I sorry you feel bad" isn't a real apology, and
Yeah.
it's like if it's dismissive, then absolutely not. If we're
Yeah.
dismissing, well, I'm sorry you feel bad. That's
Right.
not an apology. If
I'm
it's look,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So if it's look, I did what I believed was to be right. I
Uh-huh.
did what I thought was best for myself and others.
Uh-huh.
I am sorry that it caused you distress, but I stand by my choice.
Yeah.
That's also a different there's and maybe you're still not happy with that as the person who wanted the apology, but like there are levels to this, I think.
Absolutely. What came to my mind was a nurse giving a child a shot. You know,
Right.
that
Mhm.
nurse 100% believing they're doing the right thing, but
Yeah.
also very sincerely, "Oh, I'm so sorry this hurts.
Yeah.
Still going to do it, but I'm so sorry this hurts. I know it hurts." That's the
Yeah.
emotion and the acknowledgement. The
Or
explanation is,
yelling at your kid or grabbing them so they don't run in the road and get run over.
"Uh-huh.
It
Yeah.
scares them. It may have hurt their arm a little bit, whatever, and you're like, "Well, I'm sorry that you're hurt, but no, you don't get to run in the road."
Right, right." And there's a way to do all of those things, to say, "I'm
Yeah.
so sorry I scared you. I'd do it
Mhm.
again in a minute because of the
Mhm.
situation. I know you were scared." Again, that's the sincerity, the acknowledgement. I know you
Mhm.
were scared, that explanation, that change for the future. Next time we need you to pay a little more attention and I need to pay a little more attention or build a fence or whatever. And that amends, come give mommy a hug, you know,
Mhm.
without the without overtly admitting or acknowledging I did something wrong. I have this real strong belief, and I'm going off on my own tangent here, that, okay, just follow along with me here, that
Okay.
most of the evil in the world is done because people have a hard time admitting they did something wrong. So,
Mhm.
right? So if I'm 3 years old and I hit my little sister, and my dad comes and says, "Hey, don't hit your sister," and I go like, "But she took a toy," and I
Mhm.
I don't have the capacity to say, "Well, she took my toy, but you're right, she probably shouldn't have hit her." That can
Yeah.
turn into, if I don't have the ego strength or capacity to say, "Eesh, I did something wrong," that can go to, "No, I'm justified in hitting my sister. Therefore, I'm justified in hitting that first grader who does this. And therefore, I'm justified in hitting that fifth grade. Therefore, I'm justified in committing armed robbery,"
Right.
going all the way to the extreme. And I
Yeah.
think that need to kind of justify ourselves rather than admit a mistake. Um,
Mhm.
we then try to convince ourselves that we weren't wrong by repeating that mistake in bigger and bigger ways and in you know longer amounts of time, and
Yeah.
all starting from just not being able to say that was a goof up. Yeah.
I think that's a very big part of it. I tend to differ with you a little bit, where I think that all the evil in the world comes from a point of self-focus, not
Ah,
selfishness. That
uh-huh,
selfishness is very specific, but
uh-huh.
self-focus and not being able to get yourself out of that headspace.
Huh.
But this falls in line with all of that, so we're not like on opposing points.
Yeah, no, I'm remembering that I had this belief, as a teenager, I think, that I want to believe that other people are real, meaning
Mhm.
that even if I can't feel their pain, that pain exists in the universe.
Yeah.
Um, and I really do hate the all the movies or concepts of, the world is your fantasy, or you're dreaming this world or whatever. Mostly because it kind of removes people from responsibility of their actions, because if I don't think you're
Yes.
real, you
Yep.
know, I can do what I want, and that's just my brain trying to process things. Uh, I
Mhm.
think it's important to me anyway to say that you aren't a construct of my imagination, so that when I
Yeah.
I hurt you, that's real harm, or that's real hurt. And
Mhm.
um kind of regardless as to whether that's true or not, that's kind of how I want to live my life. So uh but yeah,
Yeah.
admitting you're wrong actually isn't necessarily a component of those 5 parts of an apology. It's
That's very
often a
interesting.
component,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because apology doesn't necessarily mean admitting fault or admitting, even mistake. It's
Mhm.
yeah, I pulled you away, or yeah, Anna, I broke your leg pulling you out of that burning building. I'm so sorry your leg hurts. I'm super glad you're alive.
Mhm.
I still am going to help you hobble over to the hospital,
Right.
whether I caused your broken leg or not.
Right.
And hey, I don't know how you really changed, try to do things different in the future, because that's such an extreme example. But I'll learn the firefighters whole lift next
There we
time.
go. So another point that I wanted to make on this one that was drilled into me as a kid is these are the 5 points of how to give an apology,
Uh-huh.
but there is also a responsibility in that interaction to accept an apology and offer forgiveness. And
Mhm.
again, I judge this to your situation and what's actually happening.
Mhm.
But as a kid, my parents were really good about teaching us that yes, your brother hit you. He
Mhm.
came and apologized. He's going to do better now. You do
Mhm.
actually have to say, "Yes, I forgive you," and you both have
Mhm.
to move on and try to do better.
Mhm.
And that's an important part. It's an important point to the dialogue, because for reconciliation to happen, for amends and change to really happen, both participants have to be willing to have that.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of wanting to turn this into the 6 parts of an apology with that reconciliation. And again, I also wish I could credit who came up with this, and I don't remember. And I, c-
I'll look it up and
maybe I
try to
should
add it to
research.
the blurb on
That would be
some.
awesome, because I honestly can't remember where this came from. I would posit, however, I would suggest that if somebody does have trouble with that reconciliation,
Mhm.
um, if not currently, then in the past, they haven't had a part of those 5 parts of the apology. Either
Yeah,
someone, like in the case of your parents, if they had said, "Well, your brother hit you, that just happens," or "It's a stage he's going through," without
right,
that sincere feeling of, "Yeah, your brother hit you, shouldn't have happened,
right.
um, but you need to move on," or saying, well, he's just the not acknowledging it, well, you took his toy, or, well, he's a
Mhm,
2-year-old, what do you expect? Whether
mhm.
he's a 2-year-old or not, he hit you, or, whether he's going through a stage or not, he hit you.
Right.
Um, so that
I've seen sorry, this tied into something important. I've seen this happen with, we've mentioned, like, with Alzheimer's patients
uh-huh,
before, or even with special needs, kids, and it depends on ability, but when they I know of a situation where a person with special needs struck somebody because they were
uh-huh,
mad, and they
yeah,
didn't have the capacity to understand that that wasn't really okay,
right,
but it still was not okay.
right, right,
And so no, I think it's very important to be able to acknowledge.
yeah. And you bring up a good point that sometimes that doesn't actually have to come from the person who harmed you,
No,
because a 2-year-old isn't going to give you all that, but your parent
no.
can.
Yeah.
And I jokingly tell this story, which I think is adorable, but is also, I think it's adorable and telling. And a good example of this is I used to
Mhm.
work in nursing homes in the Alzheimer's unit,
Yeah.
and I did have someone say to me with Alzheimer's that I was so ugly I shouldn't be out in public with a bag over, unless I had a bag over my head.
How
Right?
charming.
I know. Um, that person, their brain,
No.
yeah, they're not going to apologize. It's not going to be sincere. That they're not going to change their behavior. It's probably going to go downhill. They're not going to make amends, and I
Right.
shouldn't expect that. But I can tell a coworker that story and have them go like, "Oh my God," or like you just did, like, "Oh."
Right.
That
Yeah.
sincere feeling and that acknowledgement, yeah, that's not a nice thing to say, you know,
Right.
but I don't necessarily need that from that person with Alzheimer's. But yeah,
Yeah.
to me, I just immediately laughed because, and I think it's good to remember that, because that's again an extreme
Mhm.
where somebody, technically hurt me, but
Right.
because I had an understanding of the overall picture, it didn't hurt.
Exactly.
And I
Right.
think I have to process this a little bit, but I think probably that's true in most cases if someone can't apologize, is that somehow, somewhere they don't have that capacity, whether it is because their ego can't tolerate it, or they don't have the learning, or, whatever. If you look deeply enough, again, I have to
Yeah.
process that, but in a perfect world, I
Well,
think
and
everybody
this
would. I think in a perfect world, everybody would be okay saying, "Oopsie, so sorry, let me get you to the hospital," or
See,
whatever.
and this is cueing us into another podcast about closure and how where you can expect to get that and where you can't.
Yeah,
So,
because most people now don't like the word closure, but yeah, that's a upcoming topic. Um, but yeah, sometimes it's impossible to have that
mhm.
final conversation with someone. It's just not going to happen. Or to have
Yeah.
that conversation with, a part of yourself in the past, I really damaged myself and, you
Or
know,
even if you're lucky enough to have that conversation, it doesn't always give you what you think you needed.
right. Yes. I've had situations, a personal situation where, not going to go into the specifics, but where somebody hurt me uh,
Mhm.
pretty badly. I shared it with someone and they said, "Oh my goodness. Well, did they kind of deny that they did it and just say, 'How dare you?' Or did they admit it and kind of comfort you?" And I said, "They kind of ignored me." They didn't do either one of those, you know,
Mm.
uh, which was almost kind of, yeah, I don't know whether it was worse, but did feel much more dismissive than if they had said, "How dare you accuse me of that?" Or "That wasn't as big a deal as you think." And I think it
Yeah.
goes back to my point of believing other people were real. They were so dismissive, like, "Okay, I hurt you, yeah, and so what?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have in that situation, definitely I would have rather had a, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry," but even a, "How dare you? I didn't mean it," would have felt at least acknowledgement.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
But anyway, we've
yes,
definitely rabbit trailed, but the whole
yes,
point of this one was that there are 5 different languages in an apology,
yeah,
and that ideally you'll hit more than one.
yeah. And you can hit them pretty quickly,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I hit your car, let me pay for it. I'll
Mhm.
pay attention next time." You know, uh, that hits all of those. "I wasn't paying attention" is the explanation. I'll pay more attention" is the future. "I'll pay for it" is the amends. It's sincere and
Yep.
it's acknowledgement. Um, so yeah, those 5 again are, sincerity. So not the
Mhm.
"I'm sorry" or the "All right, I'm sorry," or "I'm so sorry you feel bad about me kicking you in the shins," you know?
Yeah.
The acknowledgement, "Yes, that really happened. Yes, I really did that." The third thing is
Mhm.
an explanation. That's more important to some people than it is to others and can feel like an excuse. Personally,
Mhm.
that's really important to me. And
Yeah.
again, like most people, I think if it's important to me, it's important to everyone. So I tend to give a lot of explanations when I mess up. And I have to remember that to the other person, because the apology is for the other person. To the other
Right.
person, it has been interpreted as, "Oh, you're trying to excuse your behavior," which I'm not. It's just
Right.
helpful for me to kind of analyze it. And it's helpful for me to hear other people's analysis of why they did things. So, but it
I'm the
may
same.
not be helpful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You and I kind of like that.
I For me, being able to explain it is a way of showing you that I thought about my actions and I really have
Ah,
analyzed it, and I want you to
uh-huh.
know that I want you to know that I know that what I did affected you, is what I'm
Um,
trying to communicate, but
yeah. Listening to you say that, I think that probably I need a little more sincerity in my voice when I say this is why or this is the explanation.
mhm.
Because when you said that, you said it more with the tone of, "I'm really trying to tell you that I analyzed this and I thought about it and it's important enough for me to think about it." And I think I probably say it like more like, "Hey, I've analyzed this and this is why I did this." It doesn't hold that
Again, I
sincerity.
tend to be very defensive when eating crow, and so that is actually where my tone usually is.
Uh-huh. Well, you did it wonderfully right then.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I'll try to
S-
incorporate that more.
So sincere feeling, acknowledgement that really happened, explanation with sincerity of this is
This is
why.
why.
Yeah. Plan to change. I'll pay more attention. I'll try not to do that again, or I'll think about that and why that happened. And
Mhm.
then that amends, which sometimes isn't possible. If it isn't possible, symbolic amends often is. which very clearly, like a hug for an injured child doesn't take
Yeah.
away the hurt, but it is that amends that I'm giving this back to you because I know you've suffered, So if you can't make amends, bake someone brownies or, hand them a dollar bill. No, I think that's ridiculous, but kind of funny.
No, but yeah.
But I actually did. I messed up with someone, and again, the story's too long to tell, but totally my fault, absolutely my fault. And I really appreciated her response because I said there was no way to go back. I couldn't fix it. It was already done.
Yeah.
There was no way to really make a different outcome or take away that outcome. So I said,
Right.
Hopefully I followed those sincere. I am so sorry. It really was. I dropped the ball. I just wasn't paying attention. I'll pay attention in the future, and I can't change it, but what can I do? And she immediately said, "You can bake me brownies." And
Well,
I
there you go.
so appreciated that because it actually helped me. I did
Uh-huh.
bake her brownies. If someone says that, follow
Yep.
through. I
Yep.
I didn't just say, "Oh, how cute that is," or whatever. I absolutely baked her brownies.
Yep.
And it did help me symbolically, like, close that loop, and it also helped her symbolically say, "Okay,
I
yeah,
love
she
that.
is yeah, she does really she wants to make this up to me in a real practical way." And it
Yeah.
also was a compliment to my baking, which was lovely too.
It was healthy. I was happy on all
On
counts.
all counts, and I ate some of my own brownies, so there you go. So, yeah, wrapping up, those 5 languages or parts of a full apology, they're very different. I think they're all important. They are all important. Some people are going to put a little more weight to
Mhm.
different parts of it. Pretty easy and quick to hit all 5 parts without too much work or without having to talk for 20 minutes. Definitely combine them, like, "Oh, I hit your car." That's 2 right there. Or,
Yeah.
"Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I hit your car." There's 3. you know. So pretty easy to combine them. The other points we brought up was that I think we do tend to give those things that matter to us most. So to try to think about what matters to the other person.
Yeah.
Um, and you had another point. Shoot, I can't remember it. Oh, the other point that I wanted to bring up too was this must be difficult for me because it's flitted out of my head again. Um, Anna, you say if you have any takeaways, and then I'll try to remember what I was going to say twice and forgot.
My main takeaway is that I need to work on my defensiveness thing.
It may have been this that I was trying to say. I honestly don't remember, but that sense of continuing in bad behavior if we don't do that apology, not only does it um, negatively affect our relationships, it also negatively affects our sense of self and our values. If
Yeah.
we get defensive, we're going to then say, well, I was justified, instead of
Right.
maybe I wasn't so justified. And being able to say that helps us with our own growth. So
Agreed. Very much.
So lovely conversation. I thought this was going to be a quick one, and it ended up
I
being much
know.
longer. Yeah. Yeah. So this is
Lots to
going to,
say on forgiveness and apologies.
and probably more. We could probably say a lot more. Yeah. So hopefully you'll keep listening, and we'll have some fun and exciting topics to bring to you next time.
For more resources, shop at www.upandupwellness.com and hit that subscribe button. If you are in crisis and struggling right now, the national hotline is 988 and they can help you any time of the day or night.